So I think we'll need like a yes or something. Okay, great. Hi, Joe. It's good to see you again.
It's good to see you as well, as
I-
always.
Yeah, and I'm really excited for today's session. I feel like we can get some really practical advice out to people. And I know you've talked about portfolios and written some stuff up before. In terms of what we'll run through today's session, we'll be going over a little bit of like best practices and common mistakes up front. And then from there, we'll actually dive into live reviews of people's portfolios. We've had a ton of people submit incredible portfolios. So we'll randomly select a couple from those and review
Okay.
them live on the call. But yeah, does that sound good to you? Ready to dive in?
Sounds great. Let's go.
Let's go. Okay, great. So let's actually just start with when you look at a portfolio, what are signs of a really good, strong portfolio to you?
I think that the primary thing is something that not enough people do. And that is what I want to see from the beginning, from the very first time, inside the first couple seconds I hit a home screen of a portfolio. I want to know what you've done, for who, and why it matters. I want to know what kind of impact you've made. I want to know what you've made better, or faster, or more efficient, or more profitable, or more cost effective for other people. All right. And that's me putting my employer hat on, right? If I'm going to hire you, if I'm a recruiter, and as a recruiter, I want to look like a hero. I want to go to my client and say, I found this person who's achieved these amazing things for this other company. They can do great things for you. That's what I want to see. I want to see something that makes me think, well, okay, I'm definitely going to spend another 30 seconds here. All right. And that's the key ingredient. All right. What value do you provide for the people who are going to pay you money to do this stuff?
That makes sense. And how do you see, like thinking back at some of the portfolios you may have reviewed, because you've probably seen a ton over your career, were there any that stood out in the way that they expressed that? Because there's also an element of like, you can't bombard someone with too much information. So any
Yeah.
good ideas on how to surface that information well?
Well, it's short and sweet. I mean, there's a trend in portfolios where people do, it's like image and then big text, which is, I don't love that because everybody does that. And I think you should set yourself apart visually as well as verbally. But if you're going to do that, I mean, a sentence is enough. But you've got to say, helped these types of organizations achieve these types of results for X amount of time. If you've been doing this a long time, right? If you've been working in the industry for 15 years, you need to say you've been working in the industry for 15 years. You know, if you have 3 really big name clients, you need to put their logos up there, right? You need to make an impact right now. So the best things that I've seen are the portfolios that do that. And I've actually seen a few who used video to their advantage as well on that opening screen, and did it to the degree of skip the introduction, skip the I'm so-and-so, and I love design. Like nobody cares. It's what I just said, right? Get to that. I've helped companies do this. You have to come out of the gate with, here's what's truly awesome about me. So the best portfolios I've seen are essentially really good sales pitches. It's what they are. And people need to think of them that way.
Yeah, I love that. And that absolutely makes sense. On the flip side of that, like, have there been like specific portfolios that you've looked at where you're like, I don't know, maybe there's something really good about this person's work, but I just don't want to get through it, or there's some mistake in the way that it's been structured or showcased that just makes you like
I
wish.
will tell you, this is going to sound really negative, but it's okay for all you folks watching. This is important. The majority of what I see fits that criteria. There are a lot of people who have tremendous talent, tremendous ability, and deep inside their case studies, in some cases, there are really compelling stories there. But I have to work to get it. And the only reason I'm working to get it is because I happen to be helping them, in a coaching capacity or in a review capacity. But the majority of portfolios fail in terms of how they present themselves. I really mean that, the vast majority, at least 85 to 90% of what I look at is absolutely missing the mark. The common advice that people get about portfolios online and in videos and in courses and books is garbage. I'm just going to say it. Okay. It's not helping you. The things that we are taught to do not help us get through the gate of recruiters and hiring managers. And the same goes for resumes. The same bad advice exists for how to write a resume or how to write a LinkedIn profile, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I love that you're like very direct with the feedback, and I'm excited to actually
I
dig
am.
into some very specific examples. So I'm going to go ahead. So, like I said, we have a list of people who submitted their portfolios for review, and I am excited to dig into those. So
Okay.
we'll choose two at random, and then we'll just review them. I know people have multiple case studies often in their portfolio, so maybe we can just look at the home screen and one case study in particular as an example.
Yeah, that's all. We'll take a dive through the homepage, okay,
Yeah.
real quick, and then we'll go to case studies. We'll see what we see.
Yeah, sounds good. So I think this is a list of everyone. So clearly a
Oh,
lot of people.
wow. I
Yeah,
wish we had time for all of them.
yeah, I feel like we should do this again to be able to go through more of them. But I am
Sure.
kind of partial to the first person just because they got their name in there right up front.
Let's,
Do you wanna?
all right, let's do it.
All right, let's dig into Adi's. All right. And feel free to like spitball as you're going. I'll add comments in as well. But yeah, this is the home page. Also, folks, we have our note-taking link live. So if anyone wants to take notes, just ping us on LinkedIn and you'll be able to take live notes during the call on the Looppanel product, and then we can send those to you after.
Cool.
But yeah, Joe, do you want to start digging into this one?
Yeah. So, okay. Case in point, I know your name. I have a picture of you smiling at the camera, which is great. I know that you're a UX designer in NYC. None of that tells me anything about you.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm going to be very blunt here because that's what I do. You're not telling me anything compelling about yourself. I don't know what you've done, who you've done it for. I don't know how long you've done it. I don't know what kind of results you've been able to get for the people you've worked for. I see that your projects are down there. You have to get everything that's unique about you up in that first screen. And here's the thing that everybody hates when I say it. Above the fold is a real thing. I don't care whether you subscribe to that theory or not. It is a real thing. Human nature is least amount of effort. Recruiters have 30 to 60 seconds for your portfolio. That's not a lie. Okay. I know a lot of recruiters and they will all tell you the same thing. 30 to 60 seconds to decide if I'm going to spend another 30 to 60 seconds here.
Yeah.
Which means whatever you're going to surface, whatever you're going to tell me about yourself to say, I am the person, it better be apparent right here.
Yeah.
Without me scrolling, I'm not looking, I'm not going digging, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Right. It's got to come out now. So let's go down a little bit to one of these.
I will say though, I do like having the person's face up front. Like I feel like that is
I love it.
Absolutely.
Element. People are reticent to post their photos, and I sort of get that. The bottom line is this: recruiters want to see your face. They want to know who they're hiring. Okay. They want to know who they're interviewing. They do. We can like that, not like that. It's irrelevant. Okay. you have to put yourself forward. And I will also say with photos, I prefer to see a shot of that person working in action as opposed to the glorified headshot. Show me you at a whiteboard. Show me you sketching, something in a notebook. Show me you show me you working.
Yeah.
Right. There's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, it suggests I've done this before. Number two, just like psychologists will tell you by photographs, when you see somebody doing something, it is a lot easier to imagine them doing the task that you're thinking about.
Yeah. That's
a little psychological push, but it matters.
Yeah, I agree. And I think like basically everything we've said just talks about like the psychology of the human mind. Like number one, people will minimize the amount of cognitive effort they can do. So put everything up front. You do want that personal connection. So again, like we feel more connected when we see a person, but like you said, maybe if you have a picture of you actually prototyping something up, maybe put that up so that you're leaving minimal things to the imagination here.
Okay, let's stop at the first one. All right, FRIJ. You've told me what it is. It's an iOS app to help plan groceries and reduce food waste.
Sorry,
I don't care. Yeah. That's okay. not to be mean. I don't care. What about it? What did you make better? What did you change? What did you improve? What did you help this organization do, or the e-commerce site below? Don't tell me what it is. I don't care what it is. What happened? What was the outcome of that work? Or what problem were you trying to solve if you don't know what the outcome was?
So one like good example of an improvement here would maybe be like, hey, if your designs help to reduce churn, or if you were able to improve the onboarding flow, so more people completed onboarding, having those here, which also
he's starting to talk about it, right? Plan groceries and reduce food waste. Did that happen? Do you have evidence that it helps people do that? And what was the outcome of it? You know what I mean? Go there.
Yeah. One challenge I will say here is like often designers and researchers don't always have access to analytics data. Like make sure you have
Right.
access to that. You need to know the impact
I
of your
agree.
work, both for yourself and to even prove to your organization, be able to take those stats when you're trying to get a bonus or like a review of your salary
That's
or
right.
anything like that. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump in. Oh, actually, I did have one other question before we do that. There are, of course, a lot of people who may be trying to break in from other industries who maybe
Don't have
are,
any experience.
yeah, so they're maybe working with like they'll do their best, right? They'll try to find projects, maybe they'll volunteer somewhere, maybe they'll do some like other sort of programs. What do you recommend for that scenario where
Yeah.
yeah,
So you lead with one of two things. You lead with an outcome if you have it. Okay. If you did an actual project and you know what the outcome was and you know that things increased or improved, then you lead with that. If you don't have that, if you don't have an outcome, if you don't have any practical experience, at the very least, you lead with the real business problem that you were trying to solve, that the work was trying to solve, and you lead with that. This is not about necessarily better design or better UX or better. Those are our concerns.
Yeah.
The concerns of a recruiter and an employer are what business outcomes were you after in redesigning this or improving it? Okay. And you lead with that. Here are the problems I was trying to solve with this work.
Yeah. And I think that also aligns well with what you should be thinking about when you're in the role is like make sure that your work, you're always thinking about how it aligns to like the overall business goals. But yeah, let's actually, it's been a bit. So we're going to go ahead and jump into this one.
I know I talked too much.
No, it was great. I think we got some good context up front, but yeah.
Again, same thing. Project overview, introductory stuff, not reading it.
Yeah.
Okay. Not reading it. So what you should do, see this down below, go down a little bit, see where he has role and responsibilities, these little bullet type things. That should be at the very top. Okay. Give me a quick outline of what it was at the very top. But the one missing headline there is either outcome or problem solved. And that's first. Writing for the web in general and writing for portfolios and case studies, you give away the ending first.
Yes.
What happened? It's because, again, as a recruiter or hiring manager or employer, it's the only thing I care about. Great, you redesigned it. What happened?
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to bother to look at the improvements, at the actual design work, at your actual process. I'm not going to bother to look at that unless the problem you were trying to solve or the outcome was compelling.
Yeah.
Okay. You got to give me a reason to go there. And that has to come first before the casual introduction. Like, here's some screenshots. Here's a summary of what I did. You've lost me already. Again, time poor. I got 30 to 60 seconds to make a decision here.
Yeah. I will.
You got to help me make it.
The thing that draws my attention as soon as we land on this is like the visuals and like that great, but this is, again, to your point, not going to help me make a decision about this candidate. So I need, like you said, like maybe like look at the portfolio again, like you mentioned, like it's the front tab of your website. What is your attention drawn to? Is that what's going to convince someone that, you know, this is an incredible person to hire?
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
But let's keep scrolling. They do have the final product up front, which is a nice thing.
See scanner feature. Okay, and you're talking features, which again, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. But they're secondary. Right? Yeah. What you included and what you built is secondary to what did it accomplish or what should it accomplish. Again, if you don't know if this was a theoretical project, if it wasn't a real company, that's fine. But lead with what all these features are supposed to accomplish, are supposed to achieve for FRIJ, whoever that is. So let's take an example of this. Like this one says like visibility of ingredients and expiry dates with an intuitive color coding system. Yes. Presumably that's like, there's a reason we need people to notice like ingredients and expiries so that they are consumed. Right. What happens as a result of that? Exactly. Yeah. So maybe rephrasing this, like we were able to make it more possible for people to get the information they need by redesigning XYZ. I do like that they have the QR code. Like if you want to go and like try it out, if you're like curious to actually see it, because that makes you feel like this is maybe actually live. Cool thing. Any other thoughts on this before we scroll down? No, let's go down. I'm curious to see what else is here. Project phases, UX frameworks. I kind of like that this is like got, like quick
bullet points of everything that happened. Like, okay, you did.
Do those allow me to jump down below?
No. But
Okay, you're introducing something that looks like navigation and doesn't
Yeah.
work like navigation.
Yeah.
That's a strike. Okay. That, unfortunately, that's a strike, because you've just set an expectation for me that I can click on these. You're introducing efficiency, and my recruiter brain goes, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't have to scroll through everything. I just click these links, except, oh, they're not
I
links.
got it.
Oh, come
So
on.
maybe
Don't do
an
that to me.
improvement here would be like, if you do have these, like bullets are great because they're much easier to consume, like you said. So
Yes.
again, you're removing a lot of that cognitive load, but maybe also link it back. Oh, wait, you can actually link on the user research. Oh,
Okay,
no.
let's see what happens when you hit prototype.
We'll scroll down.
Yeah, so you should jump me to those sections.
Yeah, jump me to what you want. Actually, in fact, like since you have these, like it might also be helpful to like have a one-liner underneath each, or like whatever your sections may be, to say again, like what is the takeaway? Like what did we learn in the research, or what were we able to achieve there? But let's jump.
I also think, sorry to interrupt you. I also think it's not a bad idea to literally make those sections accordion sections and have them all closed and have each section open as I touch it, because that gives me a quick overview, right, of what's there. And it makes that page not feel like it's a million miles long. Because here's the thing about case studies, and I talk about this a lot in my portfolio course, in the case study guidebook that I did, and in coaching with people. When a recruiter or somebody hits a page and it scrolls forever, the very first thought that goes through their head is, oh God, I'm gonna have to read all this. Right. And not in that way, but I'm gonna have to read it in order to understand it.
Yeah.
And again, if I don't have time to do that, I immediately get the sense that this is just too much commitment. I'm gonna have to work too hard to figure this out.
Yeah.
So hiding each section inside a full width accordion would make this page feel a lot smaller. It would make this feel a lot more, what's the word I want?
Succinct.
Yeah, easy. You know what I mean? It would make me feel like I can look at the parts that I care about and I can ignore the stuff that I don't.
I will also say, since you mentioned that, like I looked at the scroll bar just as you were talking about that, and I was like, oh, we've only hit this amount and there's so much left. And that is one thing where I feel like people think more is better, more is not better, because
it isn't.
The second you put so much information, like you said, it makes people feel overwhelmed, and they just have, if they have 60 seconds, spoon feed them. Tell them these are the things they need to see.
Case studies are progressive disclosure. Progressive disclosure. Give me the summary, the quick bullets on your home screen, then take me to another page with a summary and quick bullets. And then if I really want it, give me an option to open up everything else.
Yeah.
Okay. At least 3 stages. But don't just blast it all to me at once. I'm not going to do it.
I feel like it's also like it's like good practice for presenting design or research findings inside your company as well, like the same system or the same like principles hold, where tell people the answer first if they're like, if you're talking to broader stakeholders, and then take in details.
Very much so. You're right about that.
But I'm gonna try to keep us on time, so I'm gonna scroll down a little bit because
good luck.
Keep chatting. But okay, let's say we're looking at the user research and problem definition. I do like the use of bolding to again draw your eye to like what is required. But I guess one question is like, is all of the text in general required?
No. And here's the problem. Read that first sentence. The purpose of our research was to identify a solution for an everyday problem. What is the problem?
Yeah.
The first thing I should read there is problem. Even when I read the rest of the paragraphs, I still don't understand fully what the problem is.
Yeah. I read through this whole thing and I actually feel like this entire thing can easily be cut.
It's fluff.
Right? That whole sense, the whole para can be cut, and you can get people's attention straight to like
I mean, it's excellent writing. I want to say that the writing here is wonderful, but it's not a novel. If you're writing for other UXers or other designers, this is fantastic. For a Medium article, fantastic. It's great. Yeah. But again, for somebody who just wants answers, not so much. And again, this is how people are taught to write case studies, and it drives me crazy. Yeah. Because it doesn't help you.
I agree. And it basically seems like, okay, so our focus gravitated towards grocery shopping and home inventory, food inventory management, food waste in households resulting from low visibility of expiration dates.
And even that could be stronger.
Yeah, I feel like
much, much stronger.
never use extra words, or like if there's a more complex word for something, use the simpler version. Like
That's right.
gravitated, like, is there a simple word? Like, just lower the amount of effort people's brains need to make to get like one sentence. I feel like could replace these 3 paras, and it could just be like, hey, the problem is like people are wasting too much food because you can't see the expiry date. We wanted
Thank
to build an app too. Like,
that's it. Exactly. What you just said is exactly the way. Clear, simple, direct, quick.
yeah. Also, this icon feels like it is a little unnecessary, but we'll jump into the stickies. I like visuals, so I like that they have embedded a sticky, but again, there's like a lot of text and I'm not sure what to look at.
Yeah, and again, it's good to have it there. But it's too much to read.
Yeah. Is there a good way to embed this kind of information without it feeling overwhelming to people? Like, do you have any thoughts on that?
You could do the same thing. I mean, we talked about before, you could introduce accordions, where you have the first one open, which is the user, and then you have the second one. I don't know, but to make that interactive in some way might be better if you can give me a piece of it and then allow me to dig in if I really want it.
Yeah.
Or you introduce that as a smaller image and you say, click for a larger image.
Yeah.
Because some people may not care about it.
Yeah. Maybe like even like if this is a fig jam, like a fig jam embed into your website, if it's often easy to do with like a lot of the like Webflow type of things. So you could just have that and like people can see what they need.
Yeah, it might be easier.
We'll skip into survey results.
See, again, here, if you're talking to me about a survey, give me the results first.
I don't care. Like, why are we running the survey? Like, what is even the purpose of this?
Right. That too. Exactly. Exactly.
Like, is it to validate that this is actually a problem? Because then maybe I'd want it in the problem statement area, right? Because if you're saying like, how often do you throw expired food? Again, I like visuals, but pie charts are always a little bit like what.
It's the wrong kind of chart.
Colors. Yeah.
It's the wrong kind of chart for that because you can't see the difference. You can't see the difference in those percentages starkly enough.
Yeah.
I mean, a simple bar graph would have been better, actually.
I agree. And like grading the colors. So again, these things are like almost like, it's kind of like you're practicing design principles. Like, where do you want people to pay attention to? You do the same thing with buttons, like do the same thing with graphs. Like, what is the first, like you want them to see that, hey, maybe 60% of people are throwing food away twice a month.
Small to large.
Yeah. Small to
large. Make that apparent instantly.
And maybe just like call out the 60% or whatever that number actually is, or 41%, right? Like that's a big number. Put that in the title instead of how often do you throw expired food away?
Like, right. Lead with.
Yeah.
Lead with, you're right. Lead with the outcome. 60% of people throw food away. Whatever. I agree with you. Completely agree.
I know we don't have a ton of time, so I want to just jump forward to see if there's anything here on. So we have an ideation phase. I want to like go a little bit quicker on this one, so we have time for one more. It seems like there's an ideation bit here. Any thoughts on this? Again, just feels like a lot of information. I feel like this could be made quicker.
It's too tiny. I would rather you introduce this idea of I like, I wish, what if in a single sentence. And then show me each one separately larger so that I can see it. Okay.
Yeah.
On top of each other. I like full screen, full width. I wish full width. What if full width? I don't need all this narrative text.
Yeah. I'm like literally would actually just skip through most of this and just like read the bold things to see if there's something important. But
a recruiter isn't going to read a word of that.
Like, even if I'm looking at the bold stuff, I'm like social features, scoreboard, accountability through community. And it's not like either bold the stuff that is going to form a story in my mind automatically. Again, just jumping through a little bit into the prototype. So we get some time here. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, low fidelity prototyping. I mean, here's what I say to people. If you're going to show this, I'm a big believer in sketches, right? I think showing your process is really good. But what also needs to be apparent in these sketches is the thinking that's going on, or the questions you're asking yourself, the things that you're interrogating, you know what I mean? The things that you're trying to solve.
Yeah.
So it's not just, here are some components with labels on them. It has to be, what happens when people do this? You know what I mean? When I draw on a whiteboard, everything, the ideas are in black, and then there's always a red marker, and the red marker is circling things and saying, what if people, what if they don't do this? What happens when? You need to show that part of your thinking. Just doing a sketch and just labeling components doesn't tell me anything, right? I want to know how you think.
So you're saying like,
how you think.
You want people to like create a grocery list, like make the grocery icon, but then make it clear what would like, why is this the first interaction? Like, how do you how are you expecting people to actually
Why are they this large? Why are there 3 large icons on the screen? Give me a narrative note somewhere that says larger icons would help people do whatever, or based on, give me something that shows me why you're doing what you're doing here.
I agree. In design in general, I think the why is like super important. Then we're moving to the mid fidelity, but I'm going to skip. Okay, so they did some user testing, conducted 5 user tests. Again, these are like not super easy for me to get the answer, but I do like that it's in quick bullets. But it's, it feels a little light, like difficult to navigate a home. Like, what was the issue specifically?
Yeah, what does that mean? What does it mean difficult to navigate? And again, when you're talking about user testing, you need to be speaking, when you talk about results, you need to be speaking about consequences. What are the consequences of those findings? What happens as a result of the fact that it's difficult to navigate? What happens because people have to scroll? Do they abandon it? Do they ditch it? Do they, the expiration indicator? How does not having color coding hurt them and us in this business in some way? Yeah.
If people can't navigate, then they're not able to get to the big value, or they're not able to.
If you talk about testing results, you got to talk about the consequences of those findings. Why do we care about these findings, in other words? And again, not from a UX perspective, not from a best practice perspective. Why do we care? Why does it matter?
Holds for, I feel like, your findings, even in a company. If you're like, hey, users weren't able to navigate, like, why do we care? Why do we need to fix that right now?
Executives don't care about that at all.
They're like, okay, like, am I losing money because of that? Like, that's what you need to say.
That's exactly right.
I also wanted to check, Joe, do you have a couple of minutes to go over? Because I know what
I do. I do.
Great. So we can keep going then.
Yes.
High fidelity prototype. So it looks like this is the home screen.
See, things like this, like a cleaner quick links section. What does cleaner mean to anybody?
Yeah.
To designers? Sure. We love clean. It's awesome. You and I, we can appreciate that, Addie, I mean, you obviously, that's a good thing. I'm not saying it isn't.
Yeah.
But you're not talking to me. You're not talking to Kritika. You're not talking to other designers. You're talking to a recruiter, and ultimately to a business who wants to know what these things get them.
Yeah.
You're not selling design here. You're selling outcome. You're selling change. You're selling improvement.
Yeah. So, for example, an improvement on this design might be to say users were finding it difficult to navigate to exactly what they wanted. And maybe they were like trying to use the app in urgent situations.
How did this solve that?
So we solved that by giving them the key actions, the primary purpose of the app, I would like put up front, and then make it really clear, like we were prioritizing this action for the user so they don't have to think about it.
Agreed. Yeah. And your way of explaining this is much closer to what this should be. I agree.
Yeah. So it looks like this is more of like, I think we'll probably say very similar things to what we've said already.
Yeah. Again, you're talking, these all talk design.
Yeah.
Design is not the goal here.
Yeah. Also, like, we develop screens for user profile, like, great again, but like, why did that matter?
Why does that matter?
Why do people need those user profiles? Did you discover something in your results? And let's see our conclusions. Too much text. My brain is asking me to just not read anything here.
Yep. Yeah. And again, the outcome had to be above, and this has got to be, you got to have one big sentence that tells the entire story. And if anybody reads anything beyond that, that's a bonus. But you got to come out with results like just clearly in a single sentence, larger than everything else.
Yeah.
In bold. Again, here's what we made better. Here's what we improved. Made more cost effective, increased use, got more people to sign up, download, try, buy, whatever.
Yeah.
Come out with something that, again, it's not just we improved the design, we delighted users. Nobody cares.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did this do for this business behind this app?
If it is delighted users, then there should be a quantification. Okay, like we pushed up the NPS score, the CSAT score, which was,
Yes.
is connected to like our ability to retain customers. That's fine. But just saying we delighted people is a little bit light to trust. I also see that this is primarily about next steps we would consider as we develop the product. And it's like a list of a bunch of things. But again, I don't know why this is thought to be important. Like, why do you need additional testing? Are you trying to test for something specific? Ability to view all storage items in a consolidated list. Like, again, why does this matter? Like, I think giving, and in fact, you maybe don't need the future opportunities here. You could maybe just say like exactly what you said. What was the outcome? We were able to build an app that allowed users to save, like those 70% of people who were wasting their food, they're able to now save like half of that food or donate it or whatever that looks like. And like,
you'd be better off saying suggested improvements, suggested future improvements, for example, and list those. And to your point, list why.
Yeah.
Because we've already established the conclusion should be up top.
Yes, always. I think that's going to be our takeaway or our tagline for today is put your answer at the top.
Yeah. Give away the ending all the time. Always give away the ending.
But yeah, okay, thank you for reading this. Sounds good. In general, I would say this whole thing could be like at least half the length, if not less. Yes. And that I think in general is something that we see a lot with portfolios, is it tend to be like much, much longer than people will have time to give to your
Absolutely.
Okay, any final thoughts on these before we jump to one more?
No, other than up at the top there.
Yeah.
Home, about, resume.
Yeah.
It stuns me the number of people who don't have a section up there for case studies, for work, give me a link to every page of your site, just like you're building any website. Give me links to the important screens and give them to me in order of importance. What do I care about? I care about your work and your resume. Everything else is secondary.
It's actually really interesting because I feel like when you build a portfolio or like a resume, you are showing me your skill with design and research.
Yes, you are.
By default, because I have to consume your portfolio like a product. Yeah. And like you said, navigation, attention, like all of those are things you're dealing with in the digital product as well.
Information architecture, right? I mean, exactly. I looked at a portfolio yesterday with no navigation, none.
Oh, wow.
And I said to this person, see, I'm finished right now. If I'm a recruiter, I'm done. I'm not even reading a single word here. No navigation, I'm out. This person is not a designer. This person is not a UX person. This person is that's maybe unfair, to some degree. It's still reality.
Yeah. So folks, everyone pay attention put a nav bar and make sure it has to work as a link. But yeah, let's jump to one more.
Okay.
This one is a researcher, so that should be good to get a little bit of
so you got the working picture. See that?
Yeah.
Here's what this tells me about Bianca at a glance. She routinely presents to other people. And in order to stand up and present to other people, that automatically implies that she knows something. She has expertise that they do not. Okay, that's maybe a big leap in logic, but that's what that photo suggests instantly before I've read a word. That's how powerful it is.
And you can see the projects, by the way. I know we just talked about this. I will say though, again, wall of text.
Too much.
Yeah, I can see like 10 plus years of experience, like make that like a one-liner. I'm Bianca.
Give me one sentence.
I'm a researcher with 10 years of experience in like XYZ, like, and I've done XYZ sort of work, and like just put that in one sentence. And
again, it's not about, she's talking about her methods here. It's not about your methods. It's not about what you're endlessly curious and passionate about. It's about, I've been doing this for 10 years and I've helped companies achieve this kind of thing and this kind of thing and this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's your lead-in sentence, and that's it.
The
rest of the stuff is irrelevant.
I do feel like there's one thing about, so yes, for sure. There's like, make that really apparent. Put the one sentence, I'm Bianca, a UX researcher with over 10 years of experience in the field, and then whatever the other highlights are. But are there other ways, like other than the photograph, of like humanizing yourself? Because I do see like the reason people put this sort of like, I'm curious and passionate about X or Y, maybe like a PhD in theater. That's super cool and interesting, actually. Like, do you feel like that it's helpful to put like maybe tidbits of that up front somewhere? Like, for example, if somebody has a PhD in theater, I'm like, okay, you would be comfortable presenting.
I agree with you. It's interesting, but it's got to be like, for example, see the "It's great to meet you" text.
Yes.
If the introductory sentence about her was as big as that, "It's great to meet you," 10 years of experience helping companies do this, 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 and this, and then a small line in this smaller font.
Yes.
Not even that, smaller, like down below. All right. Then just literally a sentence, something quirky that's interesting about you. And by the way, I have a PhD in, which makes me a force to be reckoned with. I like that line.
Yeah.
I love the way she phrases it. Yeah. My PhD in theater performance studies make me a force to be reckoned with. Yeah. Just one sentence.
Yeah.
Okay. But I don't need an exposition. To your point, I like that. It helps. But just give me one little curiosity sense and then put it all in your bio. Yeah. Here's the other thing. Everybody should have a bio link at the top. Everybody, always.
Yeah, I agree. I think like one sentence, and even you could even like if you have like if humor is your thing, you could have it like be a funny sentence up front. It will make me endear towards you and make me want to put a little bit more effort. So as much as you can utilize. Okay, and then we come down, we see projects, resume, testimonials. This is clearly some people love you, but again, I would make this like a smaller or like maybe like 2 or 3 chunks of it. You could have like a quote in separate.
Yeah, here's the thing. Here's the thing about testimonials. What I notice, and this is a thing, okay, and I've seen this hundreds of times. People use testimonials and they feel like if someone gave me a testimonial, I have to use it all. Mm-hmm. You don't. You can pull 1 or 2 sentences from that and just use that. Because again, when everything is important here, when you have all this bold, when everything is important, nothing is important.
Yes.
It all runs together. It's all watered down. Now, take 1 or 2 sentences from this review that are killer. Okay.
Yeah.
Super easy to work with, very communicative.
Yeah, I saw that too.
I would take that one.
And the first one, I would say, like the highly recommend her. Like that's a strong one to start. And then I'd put this. Oh, shucks, I can't. Like that.
Yeah, just something that's powerful. Okay. And you could put that up top. It can be in a banner, separated from everything visually somehow. Projects, resume, testimonials. I'll be honest, I'm hating that. I'm hating those 3 circles. They're already up there in the nav. Okay. There's no reason to have a sort of a weird secondary nav that's taking up way too much space. Instead, get 3 of those projects up there right next to each other. Give me 3 summaries.
Yeah.
Right next to each other of things that you've done right now on this page. Don't make me go somewhere else to get it.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, you.
I was actually just going to summarize because I feel like we actually have like some good next steps for Bianca. Like, cut the paragraph, change "Hi, I'm Bianca" to like, Bianca has 10+ years of experience in research.
Exactly.
Subline, like, also, by the way, I'm a PhD in theater. So I'm like, if you ever want me to lead an improv class or whatever, something like that. Put 1 testimonial as a banner underneath here. And that could just be like 1, 2 sentences max. And actually, I would also want to know, okay, is this person's name linked? It is. Okay. I would maybe like want to go and be able to check that person out. Yep. And then, like you said, replace the 3 like bits here with project 1, outcome achieved, project 2, outcome achieved, project 3, outcome achieved.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Let's, on that note, jump into one of her.
And on this business up here, these drop menus, it's got to appear right underneath projects. It's weird that it's sort of off to the left, and center aligning a list is never a good idea. Left align all that so I can buzz through it quickly. It is too much cognitive work to go from one to the next because the lines start and stop at different places.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Never center align a list.
By the way, do any of these stand out to you? Which one should we do with the first one?
Sure, why not?
Let's go with the generative one. Let's see. Okay. Ooh, too much text. Also, image, not sure what this is saying to me. Like, is that, I assume that's the product?
Yeah, and the headline needs to be, like, I'm looking at the problem down below. When people...
Yeah, again, like with the simplifying language, building trust with users who seek information. Like, how would you say this if you were talking to like a 12-year-old? That should be the level. Like there's actually
Agreed.
an app that we use called Hemingway that you can use to like tell you how to convert.
What the reading level is, yeah.
Yeah, with reading levels. And everyone should use that. Never use more complex words than you actually need to.
Yeah. I'm also of the frame of mind that using small caps on capitalizing every word to me slows down cognition. It's a lot easier to read if there isn't that constant interruption of a capital letter. I just think it's a lot faster. It's just my personal feeling. I don't have any research I can point to on that. It just, to me, it's just, man, it slows everything down. But again, if you're going to talk about the problem here, I'm assuming this was for an actual client, right?
Yeah, it feels like it.
Here's the part that's missing. What is the benefit of finding this out? From a pure user research perspective, is that valuable to know to help users? Of course it is.
Yeah.
As a recruiter who is looking to hire you for a job and a company who's going to spend money to bring you in, what business problem did knowing that solve? What decisions did it allow stakeholders to make? How did it shore up the bets they were going to place on product improvement?
Yeah.
Right.
And
how did it reduce their risk, whatever it is?
You can see like increased brand reach by 233%. That's a really
huge.
Yeah, that's great. So I would say like maybe like
up there.
And you could say like fibromyalgia. Yeah, I guess I'd like maybe again, I'm just trying to make sure I understand. So it's basically about people looking for information with fibromyalgia. Like, how do you make it easier for them to find that information? And it looks like you were maybe able to like increase your reach to that audience by 233%. So explain that in one sentence up front. This is a great.
Yeah, that outcome has to be up there somewhere. Increased brand reach by 23% on, and then explain to me what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But lead with that outcome. Okay, lead with something that they care about.
Let's look at the rest of this as well, just to like, again, like wall of text. So my brain is like wanting to shut off, but I just want to.
It's too small also.
It is small, but also like, I guess we don't really need to know about the founder. We can just get into. Yeah, I also find.
Yeah, there's way too many words in all these. These need to be quick bullets. Cut out anything that isn't factual.
Yeah,
that isn't.
This reminds me of like I recently did like we put out like a template about how to tell stories again, and like one of the things I think everyone does is they tell a story like we're taught to tell stories in school, which is like we have an intro, then we have next step, and then the next chapter, and it's like
exposition, and
yeah. Unfortunately, like I can't. So put the problem, yes, and maybe like in like one sentence again.
Where she has an outcome, she should lead with that.
Yeah, where does the internet take them? Most importantly, where do they perceive helpful? Okay. So the problem is it's hard for people with fibromyalgia to trust information online. Right? We were able to get them to trust us like 233%.
That's the story, right? You're saying it in a much clearer way.
Yeah. So problem.
Right? People don't trust us. Here's the problem. People don't trust us or any other information provider on this topic.
Yeah.
That's the problem you're solving.
And I would say like, I do like having some of the key like findings that led you to this outcome. Maybe like 3 bullets, like if you have outcome up front, top 3 bullets of like how you achieve that right underneath. And then, like you said, dig in deeper for more detail about how do you actually get to that, etc.
See that sentence, okay, 100% users start looking. For example, the key to that sentence, as I read it, if I understand it, is the fact that after they go to Google, they actually find the most useful information on social media sites like Instagram or Reddit. So you flip that sentence.
Yeah.
Users actually find the most useful information on social media sites like Instagram and Reddit, even though 100% of them start by looking at Google.
Yeah. I would also
give me the meat first.
Yeah, this is also interesting. Like nobody trusts WebMD. Right? Or like most people don't, which is pretty fascinating. Okay, and people are looking for research and evidence-based findings. Now, if I'm running this company, like this is really important information. You're telling me like people don't trust Google, they're trusting like social media sites. They don't trust WebMD, and they're looking for like research. They're looking for like scientific information. So put that under 3 bullets, and I already know like the best way. Like maybe I want to build like a page on Instagram that actually is much more scientific, evidence-based content that people can discover.
Yeah. And again, give me context and consequence there. Those are big problems, right?
Yeah.
She named 3 really big problems there, but there's no context that tells me why that matters to this organization. Why is it harmful to them? Why is it bad? It's obviously bad for, and why is it bad for users as well? But again, business.
Yeah.
Give me some context for that.
Yeah.
Why do I care about these things?
Yeah. So it could be like, for example, again, flipping this one around, like people actually end up finding useful information on Instagram and Reddit, even though they start by looking on Google. That could have 2 kinds of impact. That means like if we are already on Google, like for some reason people don't trust us there, or is it that like, and either we need to create a site on Instagram, or we need to find a way to get people to trust us on Google, because that's where they're going first. But for some reason, they're not getting that trustworthy information.
Correct. Yeah, I agree. That's the story behind the story here. And that needs to come forward.
Yeah. And if you're saying like nobody trusts WebMD, then like that's an opportunity for us, right? Like that could be another way to think about this as well. But yeah, I'm skipping through some of this as well, because again, I typically don't think most people would have the time to read all of it. This is the longer version.
Yeah, again, you got to lead with it. It still needs to be written in the inverted pyramid style where the end comes first.
Yeah, I would also I like your point about like have stuff in like in a table of contents type of thing, where like when people want to see the research methods, they can jump to that.
There might only be, for all you know, there might only be one particular thing or category. There might only be a couple points of validation that recruiter, for example, is tasked with looking for. Have they done this? Have they done this? And they're literally boxes to check. Okay, the recruiter's not going to read your case study. They're going to go, do they have it? Do they have it? Do they have it?
Yeah.
So if you give them a TOC, like you're saying, or accordion links like we talked about before, they can scroll and go, okay, yep, got it. Yep, got it. And that's it. They're gone. They've put you on the list. They've said yes, interview this person, done.
Yeah. Do you feel like, I also see that they have like, okay, conducted interviews on Zoom, so on and so forth. Do you feel like coded and tagged on transcript? Like, is that helpful? Like, is your process helpful for a recruiter to know in terms of research?
No, but it may be helpful if you get past that recruiter and you actually have somebody in a senior research position, let's say, who's going to be your director, or your boss, or whoever. It is valuable to them, more than likely. The thing I want to be clear about, because I'm harping on recruiters. The thing I didn't say up front. Here's what you all need to understand: recruiters are gatekeepers. They are literally the guard standing outside the castle to prevent you from getting in or grant you entry. You have to get past them first.
Yeah.
And these are not people who are deeply educated about your field or your work or your acumen or about how any of this goes. So that's why I'm harping on, you got to get this stuff up front. You got to get the business reasons up front.
Yeah.
You got to get past them. And then get to somebody who actually knows what the hell you do all day and is going to understand this kind of stuff. All right.
Yeah.
So and that's why I'm really glad you asked the question, because is this stuff relevant? Yes, but not immediately.
Yeah. So make it accessible, like put it there, but make it accessible like somewhere lower, so that the person who actually needs to read it can get it. Crucial insights. Research is important to me. Okay, interesting.
What does that mean?
Yeah, even I was confused for a second. I think it means that users mentioned research and evidence-based findings are important to them.
Let's make that clear.
Yeah.
Let's make that clear, because your site is about research, right? You are a researcher.
Yeah. So I got confused with that as well.
Make that context really, really, really clear. What does that mean exactly?
Yeah.
That's about trust. That's about validation. That's about minimizing risk,
Yeah. And I would maybe
comfort.
Club both of these sentences in one, because then you don't need the key insight and the main takeaway. Like it feels like the same thing.
This is kind of written in a way, and researchers are guilty of this. And I love you all, you know that.
There's a truth bomb that's about
there's a lot of structure, okay, to everything. And it's unnecessary in a lot of cases. For you, it's necessary, right? For other folks who are reading it with the same level of attention and diligence, it's relevant. But for everybody else, you got to cut to the chase and you got to tell me how this is going to help me.
I think maybe what I do here instead is I put this like one level of takeaway, like there's a lack of trust around information, and therefore people look for research and evidence-based findings, and then just put the quotes or the videos like, okay, this one, is this clickable? No. So these are screenshots of slides. That's unhelpful. Like these are the quotes. And I would put those quotes like visually up here.
Agreed.
I get the point. I can move on. Like that's all.
Just like a magazine article where you have call out quotes. Absolutely.
Everyone can learn from sales and marketing.
Yes.
Because their job is this. So like take their hard-won learnings and like implement it to what you do as well.
Yeah, you're not writing a research paper here. This is a sales pitch.
Yeah.
This is a sales pitch. And Kritika, you're absolutely right. Study marketing, study sales, study e-commerce websites, study product pages, right? Who do a good job of pulling out key quotes about something or key features about something in a way that if all you do is scroll through the screen and go, great thing, you get the story.
Yeah, exactly. But let's jump into the customer journey map. Ooh, again, like visuals and color, but like, I don't know if I can take anything away from this. I see that there is a link for the Miro if you want to jump in.
Which is good.
Thoughts?
I have such a bias, admittedly, against journey maps. And here's the problem. Even recruiters, okay, and the hiring managers behind them, and even the people in senior positions want to see this evidence. They'll tell you that they want to know that the person knows how to do a journey map. And here's the reality. Journey maps are never looked at again once they're produced inside a company. Okay. And I say that I've been inside startups and mid-market companies and global Fortune 100 companies and government agencies. Nobody looks at them after they're done. Yeah. So can you present it to say, I did one?
Yeah.
Yes. But you still, if you're going to present this to me, summarize what it meant, summarize what it represents, summarize how it was pertinent to the decisions that we made. Right. Yeah. Connected to business strategy, product improvement strategy. Yeah. Tell me how this artifact helped. And don't assume I'm going to read a word of it, because I'm not.
I would say, because again, it's very visual, but you can't actually read anything in the screenshot because the text is super small, because it probably, it's built on Miro or whatever. But yeah, so maybe if it just said this was the purpose, this is how the customer journey map helped, and here's a link if you want it. And maybe because this, I feel it doesn't actually end up giving me any specific value.
What key insight is represented here?
Yeah, that's a good
question. Give me a sentence about that at the top.
What is the key insight here? There's a section on impact. I want something more than that. Influence direction of business strategy based on user insights.
Doesn't mean anything. Give me concrete. What happened?
Yeah.
How? What changed?
That could mean too many different things. That could mean.
Well, here's what that sounds like. That sounds like people at a corporate level or managerial level had what my father would call an oh shit moment and said, we got to change direction. We got to do something differently. We thought we were going to do this, but now in light of all this evidence, it turns out, I think we actually probably should do this instead. That's the story that has to come out there. You can't say influence direction of business strategy based on user insights. There isn't a single fact there.
Yeah. What specifically did they change? Tell me, we had to update our, how we present or where we present information based on the fact that we learned that, nobody trusts information on certain pages. Maybe we changed the format to make it much more scientific so that we built trust, what specifically happened. And ideally, what was the resulting percentage? We had that 223% increase. I think that's powerful as well.
Yeah, there's a story behind that sentence.
Yeah.
Tell me the story.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think it's helpful to have that impact or conclusion section at the end again, if you have the findings up top, or maybe have it again, have more depth and more detail at the end?
Maybe. If there's a lot of detail that's pertinent, you can repeat it. But whatever the key is, whatever the story is behind this statement right here, I promise you is what should be at the top.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. We changed direction because we learned a bunch of stuff that made us think we
Yeah.
were really wrong about the way we were going about this.
And that's actually huge, because if you're running a business or even like a business unit and you're like, oh shit, like you found something that
That's
made
right.
the company realize they were putting the wrong kind of content out. That's why they weren't getting anybody to sign up. And that's huge. That is huge. So if you can say
Right.
that up front, that would make me super interesting.
Right. Like I know folks who run generative research at YouTube. Okay. And one of the things that they do routinely when they present findings, like there is a period, where every company looks into things that their competitors are doing. And say, well, maybe we should do that because they're doing it. One of the things that they do religiously is they're very clear about, before they say anything else, this is a bad idea. Here's why it's a bad idea. Everything else, all the evidence is there.
Yeah.
But nobody cares about that. What they want to hear is, should we do this or not? We're going to sink a lot of money and a lot of time into this. Is this a go or a no-go?
Yeah.
Good idea, bad idea.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, this sentence sounds to me like one of those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
We shifted what we were going to do based on what we learned. That's the story. Tell me about that. Tell me what changed. Tell me about that blind alley you were going to charge down until you learned these three things,
And actually, now that you said that, like basically what you're telling the business person when you tell them that is like, hey, you would have wasted 3 to 6 months doing the thing to learn that it was a bad idea. And I saved you 3 to 6 months and all those engineers' time or those content writers, where that is where that value comes. So I think, make that clearer.
I'm going to say something bold as well.
Okay.
Which is so uncharacteristic of me. It is also one of the reasons why, in all these layoffs that have happened since November, it really is one of the reasons why folks who are in research have really taken a beating in terms of layoffs. Because in a lot of cases, and again, I've been inside these organizations, they don't do a really good job of saying, I just saved you from placing a really bad bet. Okay. Coming out with, this is the favor I just did you. Instead, they're looking at their own lens, at research, at all this facts and figures and rigor. And can we defend these, our conclusions?
Yeah. You
got to be promoting the fact that this company would have made a tremendous financial mistake had you not surfaced these things. That is the part of the story you need to be telling all the time. Not just for their sake, for yours.
Yes.
Okay.
I would actually say, like, if you can, like with, for example, if you figure out through a usability test, for example, that the navigation that was being designed or would have been built out, like nobody would have checked out on the e-commerce website because they just couldn't figure it out. If you uncovered that at the design stage and you saved like a month or 3 months of coding, calculate what that is. Like how much of those engineers getting paid? They're getting paid like, I don't know, a few $100,000 a year. And then divide that by 12, like however many months, and add that up for your reviews. Like for your Apple review, be like, I saved you $1 million in people's salaries.
Absolutely
just by telling you this fact in advance.
Right. And nobody knows that unless you say it.
Yeah.
Nobody knows those stories unless you tell them.
Yeah.
And this is the part that nobody talks enough about.
Yeah. Fight for your right. Tell people what value you're bringing.
Yes, absolutely.
One last pet peeve on this one. I hate when like the left-hand side and the right-hand side on like the same part of the screen talk about different things. And this is like topics of further research, which also like, I don't know if I like need that as somebody reviewing a portfolio for a hiring purpose.
No.
But I also don't want, like, if there's an image, if there's something here, it better be talking about whatever's on the left.
Its job is to support whatever's there. I agree with that.
Exactly. So make sure you do that. And my learnings, okay. These again, what are your thoughts about the final learnings? And then we can wrap this one up.
I think talking about what you learned is valuable, but again, and color me cynical, okay? I think that learning is only valuable if it's written in context of how that would have changed the outcome. You got to give me some additional detail that said, we could have gotten there faster. We could have gotten some of these answers more quickly.
Good point.
And maybe, for less cost, less effort if we did this.
Yeah.
Again, you got to be, this is selling. You are selling to this business all the time.
Yeah.
So if you learn something, great. Everybody's happy that you learned. They're a lot happier if that learning benefits them in some real way.
Yeah.
That's what that recruiter, hiring manager, director, that's what they want to see.
Yeah. So for example, two of these seem like they're about the same thing, similar things about how, basically what is the insight?
Right. Why do you want to show shorter video clips? For what reason? To do what?
Or I learned how to communicate insights more effectively so the team could actually process
Context.
what's going on. We could take decisions faster by giving them tiny snippets. Because I tried all, I tried all the methods and I learned you only have this 30 seconds of mental bandwidth. So we give them 30-second snippets.
Right. Would enable us to do this.
Yeah.
Right. Would have enabled us to do this. I totally, completely agree. That's the missing piece.
Yeah. Okay. I think we've gone through another entire one. I think there are a couple of questions. I don't want to get into another portfolio because I feel like we'll
be here all day.
Yes. But it looks like we have a couple of questions. So just want to give maybe a minute to those.
Sure.
How many case studies are actually needed in a portfolio?
That's a loaded question. I will say this. 3 is a minimum. 3, I think, is an absolute minimum. It's enough to show that you've done some things. And I think that 6 is probably a max, just in general. And my thing is this, I would rather see 3 amazing case studies versus 3 amazing case studies and 3 they're kind of I feel like I needed to fill the space. If you don't think that comes through to anyone reviewing your portfolio, I promise you it does. So if you're feeling like, I don't know about this case study, I promise you someone else is feeling the same way. So if you're going to have 6, all 6 have to be awesome. If you're going to have 12 better rock my world, every single one of them. Really. Right. And whatever you lead with in those previews has to just blow my doors off. Okay. But once you get past 3, you really got to be working here. There has to be some really amazing insight or something that really shows your range if you're a generalist. Okay. And you're trying to say, I do all these things really well, equally well. Then there's benefit, in having 6 that are in different areas. And again, the outcomes are all really, really strong. So that's sort of my suggestion.
That makes sense. We also have people asking, what is the best way to stand out from the sea of candidates? Because there are so many people applying. I know we talked about outcomes a lot.
Do some of the things that I'm talking about. Okay. Number 1, ditch this same visual approach that I see in every portfolio on the homepage. Picture, big statement, picture, big statement, picture, big statement, picture, big. Who teaches you this? Okay. Differentiate yourself. And here's the other part that people don't pay enough attention to. Visual design of a portfolio or a website matters a great deal. If you're using the same cookie cutter template that everyone else uses, you look like everyone else. If I can substitute anyone's name up there and have the sentence that's there still probably be true, and there's nothing visually that signifies anything unique about this person, you are the same. All right. Perception is reality. We rely too heavily on templates, and visual design is one of those things that UX people in particular think is extra or unnecessary. That's wrong. It is absolutely necessary. If you are not well versed in visual design, take a course. Okay. Make bolder, more compelling, more unique choices in how you lay out that screen. Yeah. Anybody can improve that part of their game. Okay. You don't have to be a great visual designer, but you can improve that part of your game. You can get to the point where your portfolio looks like yours and not somebody else's. I think that's tremendously important. Yeah. And what you say and how you say it matters too. Think about your voice. Okay. I'll say this and then we'll move on. I break grammar rules all the time, right? Much to the chagrin of anyone who's ever edited one of my books. I don't care. You know why? Because I want it to sound like me.
Yeah.
I want people to hear my voice in those words. That's more important to me than a formal statement. I'm not saying you should have poor grammar, that you should construct a sentence that sounds like a 3-year-old wrote it. But I'm saying there has to be some you in there, the way that you talk, the way that you would say things, like Bianca's little thing about be a force to be reckoned with. Like that's personality. That's now you're bringing something out that is uniquely you.
Yeah.
Okay. It really does matter.
We're getting a bunch more questions, but I'm going to cap it at maybe one more just in the interest of time. So we've got this one that's basically asking, like, how can one provide more information? Okay, yeah, this is kind of going back to that question we asked earlier, which is like, if you are trying to present a student project, how do you think about, profit that you brought in or things like that? How do you talk about the impact where?
Well,
yeah,
you can't because you don't know what it is, but you can certainly talk about, again, the problem you are trying to solve. If you're redesigning something, there has to be a good reason why you're redesigning something. Okay. You have to come out with a problem statement that says, and I'm going to speak to this in a second. All right. Let's say it's Spotify, because that's the first thing that came to my brain, which I don't think you should do, but we'll get to that. Say I redesigned Spotify's interface to do what? To improve what? To fix what problem that they have. Okay. Because if you can't say I had redesigned this because there's a problem with it, you got no case. You're just making things look pretty or changing the way things look visually for no good reason. You've got to have a reason, a problem, a thing, which leads me to the second point. I see far too many portfolios that take established big brands and redesign them. Spotify is very successful. They don't need you to redesign anything. Apple's very successful. They don't need you to redesign anything. Okay. Substitute any big brand in that space. They don't need you to redesign anything. You're not going to prove anything to anybody about your analytical skills and your thinking skills and your problem solving skills. Find something, find an app, find a website that is bad, that is failing in some way. Okay. That could be 1,000 times more usable. That app on your phone that you're forced to use every day from your bank, for example, that pisses you off every time you use it.
Oh my God.
Redesign it and explain why. Tell me why this is a problem.
I will say though, the iPhone, like dialer and like contacts, like those frustrate me on a daily basis. And I was talking to someone about this today. Like, to your point, it's Apple, so you're like a little bit surprised. But if anyone's looking for an idea, please.
Oh, they make mistakes, absolutely. But see, that's better. That's much better than some of the things that sort of already work and already are established.
Yeah.
That's a very specific concern. And I think that's good.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's a problem. But yeah, pick things that aren't already well known. What you need in a case study is you need a really good problem to solve. All right. Something where the person who looks at it, from the recruiter to the hiring manager to the directors and whoever, can look at it and go, they really thought hard about this. They identified a very real problem that had a business impact, by the way, that was hurting this business in some way. And they went about solving it, not just to help customers, but to help the business as well. This matters.
Yeah.
So it can be student work, but but your problem that you're solving has to be that much more compelling if it's student work.
Yeah.
And I strongly believe everybody should find volunteer work to do if you have to.
Yeah.
All right. Just to get real world something. It could be your friend down the street who has a band, and his band needs a website, or he has a website and it sucks. And you say, look, just let me redesign this for you. I won't charge you. Just let me do it because I need a piece of my portfolio.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's about it.
Okay. I think that's very sound advice. And I know we've gone way over on time, so I'm going to wrap it up for today. But we should ask people maybe on LinkedIn if they'd like for us to do this on a recurring basis, because there's so many portfolios and I kind of feel bad to get through more of them. But yeah, thank you, Joe, for taking the time. This was awesome. Like, I really enjoyed it. And I feel
awesome.
like
Me too.
We can repeat our tagline for the day one more time. Put your outcome at the top. Lead with the answer.
Give away the ending.
Yes, give away the ending. Just in case.
Spoilers are welcome.
Exactly. Perfect. So on that note, we will give Satvik the cue and let us know if you're able to stop the live stream, and we can let everyone get back to their days for today.
Cool. Thank you.
Satvik, let us know when you're good. Okay, I think he's still working on it.
We might be live. We might not be.
We're still, okay, he says 22 seconds. Do we have anything to talk about? Maybe we should be planning our next one.
Yeah, probably. But this was fun.
This was fun.
I would love to do it again.
Yeah, I'll check in with you on LinkedIn to see if we can schedule like a cycle back for this. But I feel like we
Sounds
were
good.
able to actually get value to people. So that's